Cash or card? Which one of those two do you normally use? I ask this because Berkshire has seen the number of cash machines drop by a third over the past 5 years. As businesses across the UK go cashless, many banks and post offices closing as well, it's becoming more difficult to withdraw your money. Reporter Charles Kershaw has been out and about in Windsor, speaking to people there who've been caught up in it all.
If you've walked down your local high street and struggled to find a place to get cash out, then you're not alone.
The only cash machine that I know of is in the Tesco's. The one by the post office is closed, the one by the Parade shops is closed. There's another one further down the left, that's also closed. 3 large banks are closed on the high street. So yeah, they're all drying up.
That's the feeling of some people from Windsor who are concerned about closures of post offices, banks and cash machines in the area. In 2018, Windsor had around 100 cash machines, according to banking network Link. Now they only have 60. Today, the high street has one bank and one post office to get cash out of, and that's set to close. I asked some people on Windsor High Street and in Dedworth if they still use coins and notes.
Everything is going cashless, so I use the contactless. I like cash. My mom always said you need to have cash on you always. What if your card gets stolen or you don't have any other means?
When you got cash, you can keep track of what you got. You simply by looking in your wallet and go, oh, I've got £10 left. I do believe you've got to move with the times, but to go completely digital, no. I don't think anybody really wants that, especially older people. Or homeless people, for example. You can't bung a few coins to a homeless person if cash goes.
I don't use cash very often, but sometimes it is necessary. Where I live, there is no cash machines. I need it for when I go back to my country, or just to have some money in the house in case something happens.
There could be more. I don't use cash as much as I used to, purely because it's just convenient to use Apple Pay or your debit card. But nevertheless, cash is still an important commodity. So it's a bit of a nuisance when you're hunting around, especially if you don't know the area, trying to find somewhere where you can actually get your money on your hard-earned cash, really.
And businesses are affected by this as well. Rowena Ireland is the manager of Windsor Wash Laundrette in Dedworth. They only take cash.
It's getting worse. There used to be 2 across the road in Tesco's, now there's 1. Tesco's doesn't give cash back. Nearest one is post office, so you have to physically go in. Sometimes it's really busy. If they haven't got cash, they can't use the machines. They can't pick up their dry cleaning or their ironing, as simple as that.
Do you feel like we should fight a bit harder to keep cash going?
100%, but I'm old school, I'm old. My views on cash is probably different to someone that had walked through the door of the 20s. We'll have to adapt, but there are machines out there that will take card payments, but we're such a small business that we would never be able to afford to change the machines to bring them up to modern day. You go in London, everything, even the laundrettes, they take card payments to put your washing on. There's nothing, we could never ever keep up with that. We're too small.
Rowena Ireland there, manager of Windsor Wash Laundrette. So, cashless society, we seem to be inching ever closer to it. Ron Delnevo is from Payment Choice Alliance, and they campaign to keep cash in society. Ron, good morning. So, who is using cash these days?
Oh, almost everybody, Phil. Over 90% of people occasionally or often use cash. It's quite a myth that cash is dying out. Last year, £81 billion was taken from cash machines in the UK, an average of £1,500 per adult. So cash obviously has competition now from contactless, from digital payments like Apple Pay, and that's good because everybody should have choice. But cash isn't dying out. But of course, there are access problems and acceptance problems now.
So we were hearing there about the challenges in Windsor with fewer and fewer cash machines around. How do we solve this? Is there sort of a minimum requirement we should have?
Well, there is a minimum requirement, but that's not adequate because it might leave a town like Windsor with 1 cash machine. By the way, it's an error to say that there's a bank in Windsor. There's not a bank. There's a building society nationwide, and that's something that the people of Berkshire should be aware of. You've got your own building society, the Newbury Building Society. 1 million people nearly live in Berkshire, but there are only about 70,000 members of the Newbury Building Society. If banks won't give you a service, give your custom to businesses that will, like the building societies nationwide, and of course your own Newbury Building Society. So there is an alternative to banks. But on the wider issue of ATMs, the big problem in this country is that when banks close and they take away their ATMs, those ATMs would be replaced by non-banks. But the payments that ATM operators receive in the UK are the lowest in Europe and probably the lowest in the world. If somebody takes £250 out an ATM, the ATM operator only gets 26p in the UK. In Holland, it's 80p. In France, it's more. Everywhere around Europe, it's more. And that's making it uneconomic for organisations to replace the ATMs that banks are taking out. So
isn't the idea that actually the cash that comes out of the machine then gets spent in the place that you're closest to? If you see a supermarket, often has the cash machine as you go in the door, that you might take the cash out and then go and spend it in the supermarket.
Well, that's what shops hope, and that does happen a lot, actually. But obviously, you don't just want to have to go to large supermarkets to get your cash. So there need to be ATMs in the high street. I mean, it's quite ridiculous that Windsor hasn't got a single bank branch or bank ATM, that we're relying on great companies like Tesco's and Sainsbury's to have ATMs, and the odd post office, although I just heard your post office may be closing there. Yeah. And it's all around Berkshire that we have this problem. But as I say, increase the amount that the operators receive for delivering cash to the public, and there will be more ATMs to replace the ones that have been taken out. That's what's necessary. But we also want to watch businesses not accepting cash. Businesses must accept cash, because we heard from your listeners there, they want to use cash still.
Ron, thank you so much for coming on. Ron Delnevo, the Payment Choice Alliance.